Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is the October 23rd Ward 1 meeting. Thank you for coming out. I'm Sarah Marsh. I represent you, the citizens of Ward 1, and would like to give everyone the opportunity to introduce themselves, starting with Yolanda.
Hi, my name is Yolanda Fields. I'm the Community Resources Director for the City of Fayetteville.
And I'm Adela Gray, the other Ward 1 Alderman.
I'm Andrew Garner, the City Planning Director.
Matt Mihalovich, the City Trails Coordinator.
I'm Terry Gully. I'm the Transportation Services Director.
We also have Steve with Media Services, who is filming this so that people at home can watch. Tonight we're going to have a few updates from myself and from Adela. And then we'll also be having some infrastructure updates on streets, sidewalks, and drainage projects, our trails, hearing about some of the issues that we've been heard about on South College, and some updates on the paratransit services, as well as the Hannah property rezoning request. And then we'll take time for input and questions. So to start out, we had some great news. Our community received a 3-star rating, which the STAR community rating system is a national sustainability rating. There are only 17 communities in the U.S. who have achieved STAR rating, and 3 is very good. It ranks us on categories such as the built environment, climate and energy, economy and jobs, education, arts and community, equity and empowerment, health and safety, and natural systems. We did well in most categories, but we have a lot of work to do in climate and energy and equity and empowerment. So we'll be tackling those issues to help improve our community as we move forward. In other good news, I've talked before about the PACE program, which is our Property Assessed Clean Energy Program through our Energy Improvement District. Again, this is the first Energy Improvement District in the state, and we'll be offering low-interest loans to property owners for energy efficiency, water efficiency, and renewable energy programs, or improvements. And we have hired a PACE administrator to help us with this program, and they are alliance between the Arkansas Advanced Energy Association and a group that is managing the very successful PACE program in St. Louis. So we'll be rolling that out towards the end of the year. In other good news, we approved a contract with a local company called Blue and Green that's out of our Research and Technology Park here down in Ward 1 for almost $2 million for an ozone water treatment system, which will help us deal with some of the emerging contaminants in our water system. So it's great that we're going to take this proactive stance in providing clean water for our community, as well as reinvesting in some of the great innovation that's coming out of our ward. Adela?
Well, I'm keeping busy, as many of you know, because I have 2 opponents who would like to be sitting in this chair. So I'm trying to do everything I can to make sure that I get to be in this seat next year. I have thoroughly enjoyed my 7+, almost 8 years as your alderman, and I feel like we have accomplished just unbelievable amounts of things, and Mount Kessler, and the expansion of Gully Park, and all of our trails development, and many good things are happening in the south part of Fayetteville. But we do have some other projects. We want to develop our regional park, and we want to develop Mount Kessler so that all of us go there frequently and enjoy it. Our fire and police need some help, and we're going to do everything we can to keep them up. We're growing all the time, and so our number one concern as aldermen is to make sure that our citizens are safe. So we have to make sure that our fire and police have what they need. So anyway, I'm very excited about our 3-star rating that Sarah's talking about. I'm also excited that we got more prizes than we've ever gotten for the Fayetteville Bloom, the Bloom contest that we enter into every year. And we are just, as you know, our square is beautiful, and many areas of our city is beautiful and is kept so well with our parks and recreation crew. And of course, they're working on the lights, and that's always a fun thing. So there's just a lot of great things happening in our city, and I'm delighted to be here, and we'll be hanging around so that if you have any questions for us about whatever's going on, we'd be delighted to visit with you, as we always are. Thank you.
All right, Terry, would you like to update us on the streets, sidewalks, and drainage improvements?
Sure. I'll just talk about a few of the projects we've accomplished in the last year. Two of our big sidewalk projects, some of them were help funded, about $170,000 worth from Ozark Regional Transit receiving a grant. That's why one of the reasons the sidewalk got to get moved up on Huntsville Road. We completed part of that last year and completed the last section down the Morningside this year. That's about a little over 4,000 foot long sidewalk there. Another one that we also worked on, we had a lot of requests from people walking to and from jobs in the industrial park, was down Armstrong near our shop area down there, was to make that connection. I think Ozark Regional Transit has since added a route to deliver folks down there to their jobs also. That was another about 3,500 feet sidewalk there. Some of the sections were there. We completed all the areas that were missing so that the connection could be made. But those are two huge ones going on in Ward 1 this year. Moving into some of the sidewalk things we're looking at trying to complete next year, we've been working on designing the sidewalk from South School between Martin Luther King and 15th Street, be on the east side of the road. There's a lot of engineering going into that. The engineering department has designed that. We're going to have to obtain some right-of-way along there. I think there's about 10 or 12 parcels we have to collect for that. So we'll probably end up purchasing some of that, but the idea is to get that all ramped up ready. Then we have to go through the Arkansas Highway Department's permitting process because we're working in their right-of-way. It's not our right-of-way. So we're trying to have that all planned up by the end of the year so that we can, at the beginning of the year, we can start working on that project. Another one that's right on the border, which is Dixon Street, is looking at trying to get a sidewalk from Fletcher to College Avenue, make that connection there. Another difficult one, there's a couple of major creek crossings there and ravines on the south side of the road. We have had some property owners donate some property there, so we're going to be able to do it. It's just not another, it's another one where it's going to probably take installing a bridge to get across that one ravine. But that's a really large project. And then another one over on the west side of the university. And then another thing we're looking at trying to do too is we've had road issues up Maple Street through campus, and we're trying to work a joint funded project with the university there to expand the sidewalks and get more of an east-west route through campus there that's a little more pedestrian friendly for the 25,000 students that are going there. Road projects, you know, I'll talk a little bit about the big one down here is probably Highway 16 East. That's well under construction. Sweetser Construction is doing that. That's, I think, scheduled to be finished sometime by early summer next year. The bridge out on 16 over West Fork of the White River, I talked to the contractor on that. They're actually, if the weather would cooperate, they're planning on paving that approaches up on either side of that, and told me early in the week their schedule was to shift the traffic on the new bridge as early as next Wednesday, sometime, or try and meet by next Wednesday. So that'll make that look quite a bit different. And once that's done, they'll immediately start tearing down the old bridge and build another 2-lane bridge that will connect to the one that's there. So essentially that will be a 4-lane section out to about Roberts Road. There will be a gap in between once those two are finished that'll still be 2-lane, and I think that's because the highway department is having issues with utility relocation. The main sewer going to the Nolan plant crosses under the highway right out in that area. So you'll see a gap there for a while, but it'll still put a lot of, I come to work that way every morning. It'll help traffic relief to have 2 lanes all the way out past Stonebridge, and there'll be a stoplight at Stonebridge also there once that is complete. But that's kind of some of the road, well, one other thing is just north of here around the other side of Archibald Yeld is we're redoing South Street up there. We pretty much had a street failure up there, drainage issues, so we're putting in new drainage there, new sidewalks, gutter, parking on the street, and then we'll repave that section once that's done. We're probably about a month out from having that complete. Probably about 30% of the sidewalk and curb is currently installed in the last 2 weeks. But that's kind of where we are and what we've got going on in infrastructure improvements. Well, I'll touch one other thing. We've had a drainage problem up here in the last 2 weeks down on Eden and Clover down south of Cato Springs Road. We had a concrete pipe and an old easement there that separated and started caving in, and now it's completely stopped up to where it's to the point of where the last 2 times it's rained, we had to pump the water out of the street up and over the hill because it's in a low spot. We're having engineering design us the pipe sizing we need to put in there. More than likely, the only way to take it is down Eden. We will cut in a new pipe in the street, so we won't have to be in anyone's yard to maintain that in the future. And then we will repave that half of the street so that it looks good. We just repaved that a couple of years ago. But that will solve that drainage issue, and in the meantime, we will just have, if we get a heavy rain, we'll be down there with a 6-inch pump pumping the water over the hill so that we do not cause flooding issues in anyone's home. It fills the street up, but we've been able to get it out of there and stay ahead of it so it did not cause any home damage. But that project should be completed no later than the end of March. That's kind of everything that's going on the south side of town.
Great. Thanks, Terry. Matt, would you like to tell us about trails?
Sure. Yeah, I actually brought a little map, so I'm going to stand up here. And kind of filled you in last time on the trails. A lot going on in Ward 1, so it's worked out really well. Our focus is connecting the new regional park with the trail system. As many of you know, we're now connected into Walker Park with the Frisco Trail, with the new tunnel under MLK, and also the signal there in front of tire tracks. So what we'll be doing next, and it's actually, the crew has started construction on a section that'll come through Walker Park along the east side. We're actually going to replace the trail that's there. There's an older trail, it's asphalt, but it's actually not in very good condition. We'll bring it up to the current standards of concrete, 12 feet wide, including lighting, and bring it down across 15th Street with another push-button activated signal, so it will be a safe crossing of 15th Street. That will be located between the Salvation Army and the Allied Storage. If you're familiar with that location, that you can actually see some construction there right now. Then it follows along the Spout Springs branch to cross Town Branch with a new pedestrian trail bridge, actually 88-foot span bridge that'll get over to the south side of Town Branch, where we can come along to tie into the new section that was just completed from 71B over to Great House Park, which maybe some of you have seen that new piece. Mm-hmm. We think it turned out pretty nice. It has lighting on it, so you can use it in the evenings. Really pretty corridor through there. The university owns that land and gave us the easements to make that trail possible. From there, Great House Park, which is right here, this is where the Cato Springs Trail will come off and head to the regional park. This is currently in design. We've hired Garber engineers to do the design work, and they're going to be doing some survey work through there. So we'll be contacting several property owners through that area just to let them know that they'll see some survey. That'll be kind of the first step of the design. We hope to start construction on this piece in 2016, right at the beginning of 2016 is the schedule. But we do have to cross the interstate here, I-49, and so there'll be some pretty involved permitting involved with that. So that's what Garber is going to be helping us with all the permitting issues. At the same time, we'll be actually continuing the Town Branch Trail west toward Razorback Road, where it'll hook into a little piece that's already built by the Crown Apartments, and actually bringing it on up around to tie back in with the Chalagi Trail, which stands for Cherokee Trail. That's part of the Trail of Tears, and we're currently at Razorback Road with that. So it's going to create a really nice loop through this part of town with the spur coming down to the regional park. So all of this, the sections of Town Branch and Chalagi will be 2015 projects, and then 16 for the Cato Springs. So by the end of 2016, there'll be really a lot of trail completion in this part of town. So really exciting. We're getting some help from our friends with the Walton Family Foundation. About half of this is being paid for by them. So we'll be matching about 50-50 on all these trail projects. And the in-house trail construction crew will be building through transportation. So they do a great job and do it in-house really efficiently. That's about all I have. I'd be happy to answer questions later.
Thank you, Matt. It's really exciting.
Yeah,
Hopefully will spur some great economic development as well as help us promote healthy communities. Thank you. Yolanda, would you like to talk to us about the paratransit improvements and the issues on South College Avenue?
Yes, I will start with the challenges that we've had on South College. One has been 404 South College. We had a location there where we had junk and debris. We've been working, code compliance has been working with the prosecutor's office, and at this point I'm happy to report that the majority of the items that were there are gone. We have very little left, but we're going to make sure we get everything. So that problem, I think, is well under control. We have another situation at 405 South College. The majority of the challenges that we have there have to do with pets. We just visited that location on the 21st. Everything seems to be okay there right now. We will continue to monitor that location. If we observe anything that does not meet our standards, we will be dealing with that at that time. And of course, I will take any questions later on. And we do have some wonderful news with our transportation program, and I also brought handouts if anybody wants to pick anything up here. We have in our Community Resources Division, our Community Development Program. One of the internal programs that we have is a transportation program, which is made up of our taxi program and transit. Transit, we did provide bus passes, but not paratransit. Well, now we are able to provide paratransit passes, monthly passes. So if anyone wants to utilize those, they would come and apply at our office, and we would see if you meet our requirements, income requirements, which I'll give you just an example. They are on our website. For one person, you cannot exceed an annual income, a household income of $33,350. A family of 4 cannot exceed an income of $47,600. Okay, so if anybody falls within those guidelines and they need paratransit passes, then they would come, they would apply at our office. If you currently do not have a paratransit, you're not a part of the paratransit program with ORT, you would apply with them. So you would have to meet both requirements, and then guess what? You would get a free pass, a free monthly pass. So this is brand new. We just rolled it out this month. So we're happy to be able to provide that assistance to individuals who need it. And as I said, we also have our monthly bus passes, and we have our taxi program. Unfortunately, or fortunately, our taxi program is totally full right now. We have 85 spots, and we have 10 folks on the waiting list, but we have that program. So if you want to pick up anything here, I have information for you, contact info, and I will be around for any questions.
Great, thank you, Yolanda. Andrew, would you like to talk to us about the rezoning request?
Sure. The property that's proposed to be rezoned, it's on the north side of Martin Luther King Boulevard, in between Hill Avenue and Government. It's about 5 acres. It's developed with some warehouses and some other industrial types of buildings. The property is currently zoned light industrial, and the owners, the Hannas, are proposing to rezone the property to C2, thoroughfare commercial. The intent is to have a grocery store go in, a Walmart neighborhood market, and they are under contract with Walmart to bring that store to that area if it gets rezoned. The rezoning was discussed at our Planning Commission meeting on October the 13th. The Planning Commission voted to deny the request. We did have several citizens that spoke against the request, and we did have some speak in favor of the request. And it is going to the City Council meeting, I believe, on November the 6th. Some of the things that were discussed at the Planning Commission meeting were that the location, it's really close to the downtown area. It's kind of the western entrance into our downtown, and concerns with having a C2 type of development pattern there were some concerns from the planning commissioners and from our planning staff that was not compatible potentially with the neighborhood, with some of the entrances into downtown. I'll be happy to answer
Can
any
you give
questions.
us an example of what a C2 zoning looks like?
Yeah, a C2 zoning would allow any typical suburban shopping center, like the Walmart Supercenter or any other commercial strip center where you have the parking is in front and the buildings are set back well off of the road. So it's in some of our opinions, it's not appropriate when you're getting into the downtown area to have that type of pattern. I feel like a grocery store, from the planning staff, we feel like a grocery store use in particular would be great in that area. It's just a matter of how it would address the street and trying to create a great street and fit in with the downtown and fit in with that neighborhood, which does have a lot of a mix of uses, some smaller single-family homes and a mix of other developments in the area.
All right, thank you. Now's the time for your questions and comments. If you'd like to approach the microphone so that the people at home can hear you. Do you need some assistance with the microphone?
Good evening. My name is Jeanette Cruz, and I live in Ward 1. I would like to address a question to Yolanda, first of all. I was the one who got started on the program for the free passes for people, but you have to make it clear that the free paratransit passes are only for ADA qualified people, which means people who live 3/4 of a mile from a fixed route on ORT's transit, and that's a definite. The other people that may qualify have to be income qualified, and then the ADA people have to be picked up. The people that are not ADA qualified, that means not or more than 3/4 of a mile in any direction from a fixed route, can also ride, but they will come in second to the people that are ADA qualified. And also, my question to you is, I haven't heard a bit of publicity about this. I haven't seen it in the paper. I haven't heard of the news that there's anything being done. And I've talked to several people, and they know nothing about it. So what are you going to do about fixing that problem?
Well, we have information. Well, first of all, let me just say that that's why I mentioned that it's a two-pronged application process.
Right.
So an individual can qualify in our office, but then they still have to go to ORT and
Yes.
qualify for paratransit. And everything that you're saying is correct, and they will explain what the requirements are for their paratransit program.
I understand that because I help people fill out those applications.
Okay.
In English and in Spanish. And
thank you
I
for
still
doing
have
that.
not heard any publicity about it.
Okay.
There needs to be more.
Oh.
Because there are many, we have 16,000 disabled people in Fayetteville.
Absolutely. What we do, one, we will have information on our website. Two, we have a newsletter, a quarterly newsletter that goes out to, it's online, and we also provide it to 30 hard copy locations because not everyone has access to the internet. We go out and we do outreach. We have our CDBG in the park. Everybody's invited. We just now have hired, thank goodness, a person that will be dealing with all of the outreach. So everything that you are saying, absolutely, we are working on it. And the big
Great.
rollout is going to be in November. Yes, we provided passes for you. I knew that you had a need, but the big push is coming. So let me assure you that our biggest goal is to be out there in the community. We even hold events. We provide lunch at Walker Park. We invite everybody. We do that once a year in July. And then we hit every event that we can possibly hit. We're going to be visiting with churches. We're going to be visiting with anybody that'll listen to us. We're going to be there and we're going to be visiting with them. So I want to assure you that our goal is to help as many people as we can help. And I want to also let everybody know that CDBG program in the past 5 years, in varying different internal, external programs, we have put back into the community over $2 million. And I guarantee you that outreach and information is our #1 goal. So thank you for everything that you do, and I can guarantee you that we will be out there providing information.
Thank you.
You're
Great.
welcome.
I
Yes,
appreciate
ma'am.
hearing that. I also have a question for you about the sidewalks at the university. I want to make sure that those sidewalks are compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act, which means they must be at least 36 inches wide, and they must be. It's not a question of trying to work out something. If they are not in place, the university is in violation of federal law. And so I think that it needs to be stressed to the university that this isn't a thing that they can choose to do. They are required to do this under the Americans with Disabilities Act. And for anyone who's curious, I'm going to be teaching a class at the Lifelong Learning Center in January on the Americans with Disabilities Act. So I would appreciate, if you know anyone who has a family member that is covered under the Americans with Disabilities Act, or friend, or neighbor, or someone at your church, please let them know, because this city, I want to see as a city that is welcoming to everyone, not just a bicycle-friendly city, but a city that welcomes people, whether they're disabled. Not all of us can ride bikes, and that's great for those of you who can. But there's been so much money put into the bike trails, and that's a good thing. But there are a lot of us who cannot and never will be able to ride a bicycle, so that makes absolutely no difference to us. We live with our conditions every day of our lives. And the number of trails that you put in don't make a bit of difference in my life or the lives of 16,000 other people. So we've got to start thinking about Fayetteville as being a disability-friendly city. And we have, of course, Compassion Fayetteville. And for me, compassion means action. And we're making some progress in that direction to help Compassion Fayetteville understand the needs of the disability community, so that they can be shown compassion. And I'm proud to be part of it, and I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to be part of Compassion Fayetteville. But it's not just thinking, it's doing. And there is some doing that's getting done, and I'm really proud of you.
Thank you, Ms. Kuntz. I appreciate all you're doing to help us become more aware and guide us as we face this new challenge of making our community accessible for everyone and welcoming for everyone. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Mike Lewis, Ward 1. On 2.1 million for the ozone treatment, what is emerging in our water that the current process cannot handle? And is that tied to the $585,000 we're spending to analyze the water in Kimberly?
This is, what we had is a some of our equipment was failing. And so it was time to do some replacements of some of our existing treatment systems. And so rather than wait until we were forced by the EPA to deal with emerging contaminants, we opted to go ahead and prepare for that preemptively so we didn't have to go ahead and invest in a new system. Some of the emerging contaminants are pharmaceuticals, which our current wastewater treatment doesn't address. And are becoming a bigger and bigger problem. And the standards for water quality treatment are gradually being increased. And I say gradually, actually, it's pretty dramatically. And so what we're trying to do is look ahead and make sure that we're prepared for that and go ahead and do that now with our scheduled replacement of equipment. And then what was your second question?
Is that tied to the $585,000 that we're using to analyze the water in Beaver Lake?
No, that's a different project. That has to do with several of the different things like, I want to say it's sulfates and the dissolved solids and some of the other contaminants that I'm not sure if I'm getting the agency name right here, but it is the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality is ratcheting down, and they've set some standards that we feel are onerous. Well, not necessarily, they're just overkill. And so what we want to do is monitor what the actual outcomes are of the different pollutants. And so we're doing these tests to see, I'm trying to think how to explain this. We're looking to see at what point we're actually seeing the adverse effects. And helping to analyze where those standards need to be. So we're actually working with a lot of different agencies to measure what's in the water and what's the effect of that so that we can hopefully steer these standards into something that we can actually meet. So that also has to deal more with stormwater runoff instead of our drinking water. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am, it does. Are the other communities that use Beaver Lake for drinking water sources participating in this and donating funding as well?
Yes, there are multiple agencies and communities that are contributing as well. In fact, that's how we were able to get the number down even further than we thought we were, as we're actually adding more agencies into the cooperation. So, it seems like we're spending a lot of money now, but if we can help fine-tune these standards, it can save us a lot of money later when we're forced to comply with these new standards. So I think it's a pretty good preemptive investment. $500,000 now versus millions and millions later if we don't help out with this process. Anything else?
Follow-up question with Matt. Sure. On the trail from Great House Park along the creek and connecting with the Sology Trail, that's going to come along the east side of I-49, and I noticed a big area there that they cleared a lot of trees. Do you already have right-of-way through that section? I noticed it's for sale now.
Yeah, we do not have the right-of-way yet currently, and we'll be on the west side of the little creek that flows through there. I'm sorry, east side of the little creek that flows through. But I did notice all that clearing, and I'm not really sure, what was going on. I think they're leaving the big trees.
The explanation I heard from the city engineering office was that they've been monitoring that. They're following all city guidelines this time. I mean, you can go in and clean underbrush like that. They're staying out of the stream sign area. So they're adhering to the new regulations there, but they're just trying to get that cleared up a little to make it, because you couldn't really see it before, so I think they're trying to get it to the point where people can see what they're trying to market and possibly get somebody to come in and invest in that area.
Okay.
And if they invest in it, we will then, that's a good process time for Matt to negotiate those right-of-ways through there for the trail. Okay. And we promote what the trail can do to help if they're potential business they might put in there.
The other concern I have, and I'm not sure who here to address this to, but I noticed all those trees they cleared out, they've got these huge mounds of trees. I hope they're not planning on burning those.
I don't know that for sure.
I don't know that either. And
I have noticed those as well.
it's something we need to investigate.
Sarah Moore. I live in the Jennings Edition, and I wanted to know if the construction on South is going to continue to the other side of Archibald Yale, or if it's just on that portion.
No, it's just on that one section for right now. Those streets over there had, they had been improved, I don't know how long ago, it was 10 or 15 years ago now. They went in and did a lot of curb and gutter and sidewalk work on that side at that time. This, we were doing that mostly because we're getting a ton of water down Locust Street, and it was causing some flooding issues on a couple of the homes. The street was in bad repair, so we wanted to redo that. So we ended up just doing a complete overhaul of that street, drainage, sidewalks, everything, and trying to connect all that back together. But it'll just go up and stop at Archibald Yale. It will not cross there.
And I also wanted to say thank you for the work that you guys did in that particular neighborhood after that last ward meeting. We had a lot of people from my neighborhood attend and were concerned about the pedestrian crossing there on MLK, and I know you guys did work there. And then
we put that crossing in.
Yeah, we really
we've been
appreciate
monitoring
that.
too, trying to make sure the brush, and let us know if the brush starts getting over the sidewalks again. But I drive through there every once
I
in a while.
noticed it like the
looking
next
at
week or something it was done, so we appreciate your prompt response on that.
Sure. Is that crossing working good?
Yeah, from what I can tell, I mean, I see the families there with their children crossing all the time and stuff.
Safety-wise,
People are
you
actually
feel safe.
stopping, so that's good.
Okay. Well, it's got good sight lines, so.
Thanks.
Yeah, and Ms. Moore raised a good point. A lot of times we just need to know. That's why we have these ward meetings is, don't wait till you get mad. If you see something, call Adela or I or code compliance, or let us know at a ward meeting, because if we know, we can come out and fix it. But sometimes we're just not aware of a situation until you tell us. Anyone else? Did you?
I didn't hear the first part of her
No,
question.
I want you to come.
Could you come to the mic,
She just
please?
wants to restate the first part of her question.
I just wanted to know if the construction on South is going to continue on east to the other side of Archibald Yale.
I do have a comment. I don't know if this is on because I couldn't hear anything.
It's for the
It's for
TV.
the TV.
Yes.
Oh, all right, great. Thanks for telling me. My name is Terry Michaels, and I live in Ward 1, and I just love the trails. Absolutely, I'm thrilled about them. And I'm wondering, you're going to fix it all the way to the bridge that's presently there in Walker Park, where it goes to 15th Street, where it presently is now? Are you going to restructure that part of the trail also? Going north?
The bridge that goes over to the parking lot by the horseshoe pits, is that what you're talking about?
No,
Oh.
no, I'm talking
The
about
north,
going
where it
north
comes off of
from
9th Street or
from, what is it, 14th, 13th Street, where it comes into the park, and then you're starting construction
Yeah,
now.
we're making a little turnaround.
Right, and the trail is blacktop that goes toward the bridge
The
north.
new bridge?
Towards the new bridge.
Yes, all that will be
Are you going to
replaced.
fix that too? Okay,
Yes,
good.
that'll come
Because
out
I
and be
travel that
concrete.
sometimes at night, and it's so dark there.
Yeah,
and
and we're going to add lights as well.
Right, and you can't see the lines, there's no lines.
There's not
on
a
it.
center
No,
stripe, I don't
no,
think, on
so
that one.
that's
The
good.
new one will have a center stripe.
Right.
One other
And-
thing, it goes really into the wood, it has like a big horseshoe, kind of a curve in it that
Yes.
goes into the woods.
Yes.
We're actually going to remove that and just go straight more,
Okay,
so it'll be
great.
a lot,
Good.
Closer
lot
to
more
the soccer
direct.
field.
Okay.
Yeah, closer to the soccer field.
Okay.
So it'll be a nice improvement.
And I just want to speak to the councilwomen about the changing the zoning to C2. Just as we're talking about more trails, more walking, more riding bikes, yes, absolutely, how it's more dangerous for us when we are walking or riding bikes when there is more traffic in and out of parking lots. So, yeah, I think it's great if we don't do C2 or whatever, we consider that when we're rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you. And, there are several other zones that would allow for a grocery store in that location, because I think everyone would really like a grocery store there. And maybe Andrew can speak to what some of those options might be,
Yeah.
neighborhood services.
I mean, one thing that we would encourage, and we have encouraged Walmart to look at in this particular site, is doing one of their urban prototypes and doing a store that really addresses the street, where the parking lot is not right at the street, like you're talking about, with wide curb cuts, right where people are walking across so much. If you've been up to Bentonville lately, Walmart has built or is in the process of just finishing up an urban Walmart right off the square in downtown Bentonville. So there's examples of grocery stores that we feel like would be appropriate in this area, and we have zoning in Fayetteville that would allow that, but the C2 zoning would not allow that type of a grocery store.
Okay, anyone else?
I was gonna make a comment on the zoning, but ask that you vote in favor of it. With all the money that we do spend on trails, redoing trails, and the shortfalls that we do have in this city financially, I don't see why we would run business off to another location. If there's a way to make a mutual agreement, but it seems like we're putting aesthetics over bringing business in to help finance the city when we run off of tax dollars. We all know the university's gobbling up property, which takes property tax dollars away from us because they're tax exempt. So I would ask that you relook at it and be in favor of it.
Thank you.
Well, I think I'm not sure these are on.
They are.
They're for the viewers at home.
Okay, well, we still need to talk louder because old people like me can't hear from over there when they're talking and so forth. I'm sure that there are a percentage of people in the neighborhood in Southville that would like to have a small Walmart store there. There are lots of people that don't, and they don't think we need it. But you know, it ties to the things we were talking about with a couple other categories here. Big pipes have gone in, or going in, up at the headwaters of what I call Locust Branch. Used to be a little stream, and it's just being piped behind the stretch just north of the pizza place in the curve. Now, low impact development includes keeping grassy swales. I'm appalled every year when the city buys more and more bigger pipes to speed water. In the same place down here, change my directions here, down here at the trails going over, they put in more pipe to get the water faster into the stream there. And that's the source of erosion. Wherever the pipe opens up, you get a burst of hard, fast flow. So the things we've talked about here are all connected as far as the watershed is concerned, protection of Beaver Lake and protection of the homes down at the end of Locust, because they've had flooding problems before the trail was built across the corner of the property down there. And that's like a dam that holds more water and guides it. It doesn't go straight through, and it goes into that yard, into that house. Probably places like that should have been bought and set aside as green space. You know, it would cost $100,000 for that lot, and those people were able to find another house for 150. They wouldn't be losing much, but they're, you know, people paid for their houses a long time ago, and they're old couples. Some of them younger than I am, but they're still starting to feel old, and they may have paid very little for it, and they don't have the income to buy another one, and they don't, you know, maybe they're not quite able to qualify for the good things the city can do to help them fix up the house. But in cases like that, it would have to be lifted up on higher off the ground. So when we eliminate those, every little stretch of green space that's got absorbent soil under it still, not the part we put in next to the street with red dirt and gravel and so forth, those situations don't absorb water. In fact, if you look out here on 16 East for the next so many blocks out there, all the way to Happy Hollow, you'll see some of those yards had dirt and gravel fill on the low side of the street, and that means water pours off of there faster. And wherever there's a curb cut or a storm drain, Of course, it goes through, but it comes out faster somewhere else downstream. So the water from that proposed Walmart store will run off. The lowest part of it could have a detention pond. It, you know, for the big rain instances we have these days, you really need no telling how big a pond, how deep a pond you'd have to have on the low side of that to hold back the water. It will be running off faster. Water from there, water from up this way, off Mount Sequoia, all comes together right down here at Walker Park, just below the new bridge over the trail bridge right over there. So it's a beautiful spot. If you've never been there, you really ought to go down in the creek and look upstream. I've photographed it over the years, and there's just a little stretch south of that where Locust Branch comes in from Locust Avenue. It's a ditch down there. It's under several stores. Walgreens, it's under. It's built under there. I suggested to the council one time that they should let Walgreens keep that ditch open because it had wildflowers and things in it before it was cleared up, and have glass partitions on each side right through the middle of that store if they're going to let them do that instead of piping. And then, but nobody could quite fancy negotiating with Walgreens to actually get them to vary their store. All these, you know, standard brands like that have a way they want their building to look, and we're often cowed by that instead of the other way. In some states, people have to build those corporate structures to match the old buildings, even use old buildings instead of putting up a brand new thing. We've got houses being torn down behind Collier's, across from the post office downtown. You know where the water goes from there? Goes down by the library, down Dixon, down and goes under Spring, behind the library, comes out right across here to Walker Park. It doesn't just go away somewhere when you put it in a storm drain. So, excuse me, it's so important to be keeping that soil up in the headwaters, not just worrying about it after it gets down there someplace, but it needs to be protected in the headwaters. So all of these things go together. If you allow a lot of paving in any spot, more rooftops and so forth without a detention area, the best detention areas are actually natural rain gardens in the low part of any lot. And if you allow the water to soak in there, put a little dam at the bottom, encourage it, sure, it'll still go in a storm drain. But the more you can hold, the more that's absorbed by the soil, the cleaner it is when it goes down there. So that one, and just so many things that there are so many reasons to be cautious and negotiate well with the developers ahead of time. For instance, I've been talking to Matt about this for, I know, since 06, 05. If developers were required to allow decent space, if they have streamside property, then, gosh, you know, you'd have, first the stream would be protected by the trees remaining there. See, these mountain streams this high in the headwaters, the life in those streams depend on having no erosion entering there. If you silt in those streams, you lose many species. And this is studied all the time by, well, council just approved something with the Watershed Alliance and so forth for protecting find out what's happening to the lake. Well, we know what's happening. The bulk of the siltations come out of Fayetteville construction on the south side into Beaver Lake for years. So it's complex, and I'll shut up now, I guess. But some of these sermons can get long. But anyway, those are considerations of how's that going to save the watershed from more runoff, more street runoff and so forth when you rezone something. Because I don't think our ordinances all mesh together. And the thing out there on, talked about the trees that were mentioned going down out there. I've made photos of those after they're down, and yes, the huge piles, those are big cedars. Now, and somebody said, well, don't let them burn. Yes, don't let them burn. That's polluting the air. It's the opposite of protecting the climate. And somebody would use cedar. You see all these shops that people are selling cedar, this, that, and the other decorative items that people pay for it. That should be gotten to a source or a place that could use it. And it might be put it for sale somewhere. Cedar for sale at the city shop or something. But not burn it. And but water comes from there, all the way from that Walmart out there, comes right down and gets in the town branch and comes past down here. Right where the new bridge that you're going to construct across is, well, that's going to have the same water. And when it backs up at any structure that crosses the road, when you narrow things such as the trail that went under the South School, and I had just 3 or 4 or 5 minute video online. I think about 70 people looked at it, I know of. But it shows what was going on a flood day. I believe it was around the 8th of October. And I was out there in my boots, and that water was covering the whole trail. It would have been very dangerous to take another step. I went out as far as my knee boots would let me, and got the video, and you can see how dangerous it is. But congratulations, Matt, guys. It does have a sign that says, trail dangerous, I believe. Unsafe when underwater. I've always loved those signs on highways. You know, it's pretty obvious, but people don't seem to realize that. They try to drive through it. And somebody on a bike will really be in trouble if they even try to cross when it's like that. And that happens for a short time, for a few hours. But when it does, it's deadly.
Thank you, Aubrey.
Thank you, ma'am.
Appreciate
Thank
you. Thank you.
Aubrey raised some good points about the rain gardens, and we have revised our drainage criteria manual for development to encourage more what we call low-impact development, which is where you want to slow, spread, and infiltrate the water rather than just let it run off quickly. So we've given a lot of new options for that, and also to help development save money by doing that, which is better for our environment and our watershed. And along those lines, I did bring several brochures tonight for the Community Wildlife Habitat Project. We are a wildlife habitat certified community, and we encourage you to check out their website or actually you can link to it ours at habitat.accessfayetteville.org and get your yard certified as a wildlife habitat. And they also have some great strategies to help you reduce mowing, which saves a lot of time and money and frustration. We also have great brochures on the Ozark Friendly Landscape, which is using native plants for beauty and biodiversity, and wildscaping with Ozark native plants to protect wildlife and preserve our unique natural heritage. And so I've put these brochures over there, as well as some information on our pay-as-you-throw waste and recycling programs. Do we have any final questions, or Richard? Annette?
I have a quick question for you, Sarah and Adela. My polling place is inaccessible. Can you, as councilman, work with the election board to get that corrected?
Which polling place are you talking about?
I'm medical arts pharmacy.
Well, I thought that was supposed to be have you been down there? I thought it was
yes, I have have pictures of,
Oh, okay, so what are the problems there?
well, they have ramps, fine,
Uh-huh.
dandy. But the way the ramps are set up, cars can park right across them. So you can't, it doesn't do any good to have a ramp that you can't go up.
Well, it would do good if we could keep the cars from blocking it, right?
We've talked to the election board already, and what they really need to do is to paint striped area on each side of the ramp and in front of it, so that cars cannot park there.
Is that something we could do, Terry?
Well,
They put it-
that's going to be private property. We'll have, we're going to
Well,
have to deal with that.
Yes, and that's another thing. We have an electoral polling place inside a private business, which is an unusual situation as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, well, I can certainly call the election board and have a talk with them about that. Anything else? Richard, did you have comments?
Yeah, my name is Richard Russell. I live at 401 South College. Ms. Fields' conversation that she was having earlier are a couple of addresses that are across the street from me and right next door. I really appreciate that you've gone to the trouble to take action around the issues of people accumulating things in their yards, and it's been deeper actually. Since I'm there, I know more than what you see when you do a short visit. They've had the utilities off for, in one case, months, and they still use trash pickup. But one of the houses has had its electricity off for 6 weeks. Sort of stepping back from what I would expect the city could require of a house within the city's jurisdiction. And Ms. Gray, you were speaking to, what was it you were saying was our primary concern?
Safety,
Safety.
right.
Okay. Here's how my thinking is going. There is an abandoned, unused motorhome in this driveway. It's been there for 10 years. Transients come and go. It's open 24/7.
Has that been reported to the code compliance?
I'm wondering if you don't have records, since you asked me this question.
I don't have
Did
records.
you not get the letter I sent you?
Sure, I got the letter you sent, but I sent it to code compliance.
Well, what's the deal on that? Is that
Well, I will,
compliant or not, to have a motorhome not being used, sitting in your driveway?
well, if it's operable, there's not a reason that it shouldn't be there, but I need to look to see as far if it's parked in the right location. So there could be a variety of issues that we
Sitting
could
with
use
its door open?
to deal with it. Well, the door being open, it has to do with it being operable. If it's not operable, we could deal with it that way.
Does it need to be
might be,
licensed?
well, if it's on the road, then police would actually ticket it if it were out on the road and it wasn't licensed.
Is that considered operable if it's not licensed?
Well, the operable and the having the license aren't connected. It would be if we were to go there, check on it, let's say all the tires were flat, and that would mean it's not gonna move. So then it would be inoperable. But if the tires are aired up, and then we check on it to make sure that it runs, then it's operable. The fact that it doesn't have a current license plate does not.
Can you please look into that?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Do you happen to know the address? Is it just, it's visible?
405.
It's at
405.
405, it's at the
You were
one,
there during a pet inspection.
At
correct?
405? Okay.
Okay, let's focus on 405 for a minute, since we got attention here. This house has 5 pit bull cross dogs, 80 pounds each. Now, yeah, that's pets, but really, I mean, really? You know, these pets do not get put on a leash and taken for a nice walk, a little plastic bag in your hand. Sorry, that's not the kind of pets they are. The house has windows missing. Glass is out of the windows. It started getting cooler now, so they've got plastic up. The dogs have the run of the house. The back door stays open. The dogs come and go at will. If I move around in my yard, they're out there. What's going on? Big noise, bark, bark, bark. What's out here? The dogs are behind the fence, but this is how they behave. When everything quietens down, they go back inside. The driveway in front of this motorhome is full of appliances, pieces of junk. The front yard is full of appliances, pieces of junk, and I can't believe you didn't notice. And I'm wondering, do these fall within our guidelines that we just applied across the street?
Okay, well, can I just say one thing?
Yes.
I personally did not visit the location. When I
Not you,
say,
but I need to do that.
okay,
It's
and
really
I
not
will,
that
and
far.
I
It's
will,
probably
and I
less
will
than
do that.
5 blocks from your office.
Okay, I will do that. I hope that you do understand, and I'm not arguing the point with you, that I actually have officers that go check on this. Now, the person that went to check on this particular situation was an animal control officer, who then provides a report to me.
Well, we
So
know each other pretty well. We've been seeing each other for years.
you and the animal,
control officer.
okay, and that's
He was
great.
present one day when one of the dogs came over and pooped in my front yard while the owner was standing there. And he finally gets around to saying, well, you're gonna have to go clean that up, okay? It seems like that we're not quite getting to the issue, which the core issue, as, again, is
Safety.
Safety, sure.
okay, this motorhome was occupied by a transit man a little over a year ago, who is now in custody for capital murder that took place about a block and a half from my house. Now, if that's not a core safety issue, it's not lighting on a dark trail. It's a level above that. So that's my pitch, and I've probably said enough, but thanks.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
One more announcement. The Veterans 5K is on the 8th of November, Saturday morning. Tons of door prizes. These guys are like, they really don't run much anymore, but if you've got young people in your family that are runners, this is one of the best races. It'll be on nearly flat ground this year in South Fayetteville, using some of the new trail parts this time. So
So
it's going to be
do
easy.
you have announcements there for us?
Well, you know, I have some outside I'll bring in very
Good.
quickly before everybody leaves.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Aubrey. Okay, well, I just want to remind everyone that early voting is open at the courthouse, and I encourage you to get informed and go vote. And then also, Judge Lindsay ruled today that our special election on our anti-discrimination ordinance will happen on December 9th. The wording on that is a little confusing. We're going to be voting on the repeal, not the ordinance. So vote yes if you think discrimination should be legal. Vote no if you think that it should not be legal. And does anyone else have any announcements? All right, thank you for your time. I appreciate you all coming out tonight.
Thank
Meeting
you.
adjourned.
We'll be here.